Can't say I saw this one coming, chat. If you've been following me for any length of time, you already know I'm a big advocate for accessible controls in fighting games. You might also know that I have a history with Justin Wong, having hit 1 million views killing Impossible Zangief and then competing on his Next Up reality show. But SNK contacting me for my thoughts on how to make their game more accessible? Nah, that's insane. This video is brought to you by my sponsor, Paragon, my brand partner, Zenny Gaming, and my channel members, Shaq the Great, Clint Bellinger, and Patrick Holmes. Part 1, the one where Justin Wong DMs me. Let's start at the beginning. On February 14th, Punk tweeted, "Just tried out City of the Wolves for the first time, and it's so much like SF6 with some different defensive options. I'm sure SF players will like this game for sure." To which I replied, "How are the control scheme options? Does it require manual motion inputs for everything at all times? My ability to use them has increased over time, but everything being a motion input is still too much for me to track in a real match." Some helpful people responded with links to SNK's website, outlining the difference between Wolves' traditional controls, called arcade style, and modern-like controls, called smart style. I had a lot of thoughts, but the first thing that stood out to me was there is no simple way to execute double motion inputs for supers, which is a letdown because while I'm getting better at single motion inputs, supers remain very unreliable for me. So I tweeted about it. Then I forgot about it, tossed my phone in my backpack, and left for a Saturday local, where my phone buzzed with a DM from Justin Wong. Justin hadn't DM'd me since we were actively filming Next Up in March of last year. My stomach leapt into my throat. I had no clue what he could possibly want, and I wouldn't have guessed it if you had given me hours to theorize. SNK saw your post about smart controls, and they wanted to know if you would be down to talk to them because they are looking for feedback. My answer obviously was yes, and that's how I found myself in a group chat with an SNK team member who sincerely wanted my thoughts on how to make the game accessible. I thought the best way to express those thoughts would be a video, and why limit that video to just SNK's eyes? So here we are. June 2023, I bought a fighting game because I actually felt capable of learning one for the first time. February 2025, I'm contributing feedback to one of the biggest FGC developers in the world on how to bring more people like me into the fold. That is straight up insane, and not something I take for granted. Part 2, accessibility and me. So, why do I care so much about accessible controls? No hyperbole, I wouldn't be part of the FGC without Modern and Street Fighter 6. Rather than explain that all over again, I'm gonna clip myself real quick. Feet my crunchy old mic. Being brand new to fighting games is obviously challenging, but a lot of people don't know about my additional hurdle, my disability. I have dyspraxia. No, not dyslexia, dyspraxia. Interestingly, so do a few other awesome people. If you're unfamiliar, dyspraxia is a type of learning disability or neurodivergence where my brain sends signals out of sync between the left and right sides. So what does that actually mean? For one thing, my fine motor skills are subpar. Detailed, precise hand motions are challenging, and this is worsened by the fact that dyspraxia typically affects one side of the body more. In my case, the left side. You can imagine how that feels when trying to use left and right hand in sync. For another thing, when I was diagnosed, my visual processing tested in as very low, 13th percentile low. Meaning that when it comes to reaction time and ability to absorb visual information, 87% of the population already has a one-up on me. Practical example. After months of occupational therapy, I caught my first dodgeball at 17 years old. Yes, 17. And the whole church youth group clapped like a Tumblr post, having witnessed my complete physical ineptitude every Sunday since the 6th grade. Between processing that the dodgeball was approaching my face, coordinating the catch motion, and ensuring that my right hand didn't get to the ball faster than my lagging left, dyspraxia made youth group games extremely hard. Which brings me back to fighting games. Now, before I dive into the City of the Wolves beta, I'm going to start with a moment in Street Fighter 6's training mode. SF6 being accessible is what brought me into the scene. It's been a foundational experience for me personally. So I'd like to start by describing how this game made fighting games feel possible to me. alongside what I think it could have done differently. Part 3. Modern problems require modern solutions. Alright, so here we are in Street Fighter 6's training mode, and I'm going to start by very briefly going over how modern controls work for anyone who is unfamiliar. Normally, Street Fighter 6 is a 6-button fighter. You have a light, medium, and heavy punch, all separate buttons, and a light, medium, and heavy kick, all separate buttons. On modern controls, I only have a light button, a medium button, and a heavy button. And whether it's a kick or punch is contextual depending on the direction held. The result of this is that characters lose access to certain normals if they don't have access to those normals via auto combo. For instance, if I do crouch medium on Marissa, I will always get crouch medium punch. And since crouch medium kick is not the first button of any of her auto combos, I lose access to crouch medium kick entirely on this character. Similarly, normally it is 2 buttons, a punch and a kick, in order to do a parry, or in order to do a drive impact, and those are automatically macros on modern controls all of the time. You also have a super attached to the special button, which normally does not exist on standard controls. On standard controls, you have to do a motion input plus light, medium, or heavy punch in order to get a special move. So for instance, Marissa's light Gladius is a quarter circle forward light, but you can also get a light Gladius by hitting the special button in neutral like this. You have a neutral special, a forward special, a back special, and a down special. Likewise, supers are normally double motion inputs. I believe Marissa's level 3 is double quarter circle forward heavy. Yep. However, supers are bound to special plus heavy on modern, which I have bound to a macro. So you then have a forward super, a back super, and a down super, which is level 1, level 2, and level 3 respectively. Those special moves that are on one button will only give you one strength of the special move. So if, for instance, I only want to use modern Gladius, one button Gladius is always light Gladius. If I want medium Gladius or heavy Gladius, then I have to do it manually with the motion input. Anything done with strictly modern simplified inputs incurs 20% damage scaling and does only 80% of the damage it would do on classic. So for instance, this is quarter circle back medium on modern controls, does 1160 damage versus 1300 damage if done with the motion input. In addition, every modern character has access to a light auto combo, a medium auto combo, and a heavy auto combo via the auto button, which also does not exist on classic controls. If you hold auto and you mash light, medium, or heavy, every character has a light auto combo, a medium auto combo, and a heavy auto combo. Notably, you do not have to complete the auto combo, and that's where this has utility at a higher level. My crouch light on Marissa is always crouch light punch, but the first hit of my light auto combo is crouch light kick, so I still have that button. My stand medium will always be stand medium kick, but the first hit of my medium auto combo is stand medium punch, with the first 2 hits being a target combo that I would otherwise lose access to entirely. If you hold auto while doing a simple input special move, you also get the OD version of that special move, which again incurs damage scaling. On modern, that is 1080 damage versus 1200 damage. This is the most noticeable on supers, where for instance a manual raw level 3 4,000 damage versus, mind you, this is even more noticeable on CA, 3,200 damage. So on something like a raw level 3, even without CA, you're losing 800 damage for the simple input version of the thing. So, why is modern useful to me personally? I opened this video by explaining a little bit about my dyspraxia, so I'll try not to elaborate too much here, but the short version is I have additional challenges with fine motor dexterity and coordinating motions, particularly between the left and right sides of my body, so left and right hands, and I have poor visual processing. Something akin to 87% of the population processes and responds to a moving image faster and more accurately than I do. So that results in a significant overload to my mental stack if everything is a motion input. Not because I can't do the inputs, which, as you could just see in the demonstrations I just did, individually in a vacuum, I can do pretty much all the inputs, but when you put them into combos, and when you put those combos into a real match, there are a lot of things that are still just incredibly difficult for me to do without having to put all of my focus on execution, where someone else could potentially practice for a couple of weeks and then no longer have to think about their execution ever again. The barrier to execution is more significant for me than it would be for someone else. And the ability to forget existing execution is higher than it would be for someone else. You know, the old adage, it's like learning how to ride a bike. The implication being, once you learn how to ride a bike, you could ride a bike forever. I've learned how to ride a bike 3 or 4 times in my life. I can't ride a bike. My body forgot every single time I got back on a bike and went, I don't know what to do. So if everything is a motion input, it becomes so paralytic to my mental stack that I feel like I can't even play the game. And that's where Modern Controls was incredibly useful to me as an accessibility option. I want to note here that accessibility isn't just about having a simpler control scheme. For instance, being able to do medium DP like this versus like this. Accessibility benefits everybody playing a game. I would consider the drive rush cancel in combos change that they made early in Season 1 to be an accessibility option. Originally, to do a drive rush cancel off a cancelable normal, you had to input a dash in the cancel window. I don't even know if I can do that. Let's see. Okay, I can, but it's not as reliable. It's a lot harder to do. There it is. They added an option in a later patch where if you tap the parry input in the cancel window, that will also get you the same drive rush cancel. And I was looking at it online yesterday. There are all these threads on Reddit and whatnot from people with no disabilities whatsoever saying, I'm so happy about this change, it's so much less frustrating, and I feel like I can actually focus on the game now. That's an accessibility option that benefited everybody. Likewise, the fact that I mentioned level 3 is a double quarter circle forward heavy input on Marissa. I believe that is the case for everyone, but I know it is for Marissa. If I were to do a quarter circle forward heavy special move into my double quarter circle forward super, it stores the first quarter circle forward as part of the super, so I only have to do 2 quarter circle forwards in succession as opposed to 3, because the first one counts towards the 2, like so, if I can get it to come out. That's an accessibility option. They could require you to do the full motion input for the super after doing the motion input for the special, and they don't, because there's no benefit to raising that execution barrier. Similarly, having macros for drive impact, for parry, for a command run or OD moves with medium and heavy, or a punch plus a kick, all of those macros are functionally accessibility options. And you have access to those on Classic controls too. Yes, Classic doesn't automatically have a parry button or a drive impact button, but you can add those 2 buttons in the menu to be bound to 1 button on your controller and enable you to do those things with 1 button. For instance, medium plus light will give you a throw in this game. There I am hitting medium and light separately, but I have my left stick button on my leverless controller bound to that macro, and it allows me to do a throw. And that's not an option unique to Modern, that's just an option for how the game works. So I want to really emphasize that when I talk about accessibility, I don't think it's only beneficial for disabled or neurodivergent players. I think a game being intuitive and removing execution barriers that don't benefit the experience in any way is helpful to everyone. And I really want to go in with that mindset as I'm discussing this. One of the things I wanted to mention is that I don't actually think auto combos are an accessibility option in most instances. They are to some degree, but I think the vast majority of the time they're not. I mentioned earlier that you get access to missing normals with an auto combo that you otherwise wouldn't have access to. This is where that actually becomes useful at a higher level of play, because you can't really play Marissa effectively without this target combo and without this button. So not losing that button on Modern is a big deal, but I don't think the fact that you can do this combo by mashing really benefits long-term retention or ability to learn and enjoy the game in any way. Auto combos are very rarely good combos. They are not optimal. They will not take you very far. And if you want to actually succeed in the game, you're going to have to learn manual combos, whether you play modern or classic. An auto combo might be useful at like the lowest level for getting somebody to pick up the game, but anybody who really wants to learn the game, I don't think benefits from auto combos in any really significant way, unless the auto combo is something that would be extraordinarily difficult to execute, in which case I would say just reduce the execution barrier of the thing itself rather than binding it to auto completion. Generally, I think Street Fighter 6's Modern is competitive, even if you are unable to do any classic inputs. And I think I'm particularly qualified to say that because I went all the way from Rookie to Master on my Modern Marissa, and I hit Master without being able to do a single motion input, a single super input, a single manual input of any kind. I learned how to do all of the motions I can do now after the fact because I really locked in and committed to this game. And there's still things I can't do reliably, like manual supers in a real match. But I got all the way to Master without being able to do a single motion input on this character. It was still competitive enough and full enough in available moveset and options that I was able to go that far in the rank system. And I think that's really a testament to the general success of the control scheme. There are definitely notable losses that encourage growth if you can't do any motion inputs. For instance, if you can't do a quarter circle back light, you'll always get medium for this on one button. So if you want your quarter circle back light, it has to start with crouch light kick on the auto combo. The result of that is that you can only do an interruption into light quarter circle back knockdown if you start with a 5 frame, where most of your interruptions, you're really going to want to have a 4 frame. It took me a long time to be able to do that, and being able to do this worked for a while, but at a higher level, it was really beneficial to be able to do this. And that, I think, is a good example of something being competitive even if you can't do the inputs, but definitely benefiting if you can. Likewise, for a punish counter drive impact combo on Marissa. If you can't do that link into a manual quarter circle back heavy, then your only way to get into your quarter circle back heavy is with an auto combo. So your combo ends up looking something like this. I'm going to do the whole auto combo for example's sake. 3160 damage. Whereas if you learn some motion inputs, 3650 damage. And that's without additional drive rush extensions. So there was definitely motivation for me to learn how to do which inputs I was capable of doing. There are absolutely still inputs I can't do reliably. In particular, Marissa's drive rush back heavy into heavy DP for a safe jump and a juggle. I can only land that on this side of the screen reliably. There it is. Whereas if I switch sides, as you can see, a lot of difficulty executing it on that side of the screen. So that's a notable loss. And that leads me to what I would change overall in the way Street Fighter 6 particularly approaches its accessible controls. With the number one thing being, I don't understand why characters have to lose normals for having a more accessible control scheme. Yeah, you can get some of them with auto combos. I don't think the leading auto combos would hurt the game in any noticeable way, and I would rather that in a situation where you no longer have separate punch and kick buttons, you bind as many missing normals as possible to an unused directional input. That might not always work, particularly for like neutral, medium punch. Here, maybe you do need an alt button to access the other button. I would rather auto or just straight up an alternate normal button rather than a combo button, because then you could always get the button you don't have access to. Like if I held auto and did crouching medium, I would love to be able to get crouch medium kick, and I can't. Likewise, Marissa's stand heavy kick is one of her best buttons for neutral and for whiff punishes, and my stand heavy is always my stand heavy punch on modern controls. I see no reason why, for instance, crouching, what's this direction? Down back. Why down back heavy couldn't just give me stand heavy kick. because I could still do this with down heavy. Why not let down back heavy be the missing button? Why not give me access to my missing button? It's similarly for certain lost specials because there are no separate punch and kick buttons. Normally, Marissa's quarter circle forward punch is going to be her Gladius, whereas her quarter circle forward kick is going to be Quadriga, the Spartan kick that you see here, there, in the auto combo. But because there are no separate punch and kick buttons, they had to pick which option to allow manual inputs to give you in modern controls, and that means I lose access to the Spartan kick entirely. This is painful. I wish there were a way around that, perhaps by holding auto when you do the motion input to give you Quadriga instead of Gladius. I think that would make a really big difference. It's very frustrating that in order for me to access inputs that my brain can track with, I have to give up options entirely that seem unrelated to execution. Because I can do a quarter circle forward, including in a combo. And even though I can do the input, it does not allow me to get both results off of that input, and that is really, really frustrating. Likewise, I don't really see why we couldn't have all strengths of specials available on a simple input when simple input specials are already losing 20% damage. In Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising, you can access all versions of your special with a simple directional special input by also hitting light, medium, or heavy when you input your directional special. So, for instance, my down special being Superman Punch, why can't I hit down special light to get light Superman Punch? Because if you can't do any motion inputs at all, which I think is the ultimate goal of any accessible control scheme at its zenith, is that someone who can't access any of the complex inputs can still enjoy and access as much of the game as possible. If you can't do any motion inputs, you are still losing 2/3 of your special moves, despite having simple input special moves, because you can only access one strength per input. No light DP, no heavy DP, just medium, or with the auto button, OD. So I suppose that would be losing 50%, not 2/3 of your specials, but I digress, you get my point. I don't see any reason why, if you were already going to scale the damage, you couldn't still give access to the full suite of options. And this is where I'm going to go into a criticism that I actually saw in a recent Chris F video. You should check out his YouTube channel, he's great. But he was saying that the thing that is frustrating about simple input super moves is not that they can be done on reaction, but that they eliminate the normal human level of minimum buffering required to react. Because if I decide to Twitch react with super on modern, there is no startup, because it is only one frame to come out. Whereas if I were to Twitch react with super on classic, if I were to Twitch react with super on classic, bare minimum, that's down, forward button. So 5 frames, not 1 frame. Maybe 4 frames if I do the button at the same time as the last forward. So down, then forward plus button. Still a 4-frame startup versus a 1-frame startup. So I do think there's a potential argument to be made for delaying how fast a 1-button special can come out to be equivalent to how fast it can come out on Classic. But I don't think that's a perfect solution, because on Classic, if I'm buffering this, it's still a 1-frame reaction for me to super. And likewise, if you're going to force modern to have the same exact delay on everything as it would on Classic, I think you have to remove the 20% damage scaling in order for that to be fair, because otherwise there is no benefit to playing Modern, and the game is functionally telling you, yes, you can access the same things as Classic, but it's always going to do less damage, and you have no advantages relative to Classic. If you are disabled and you cannot do the required inputs to play Classic controls, you can play the game, but you're going to do less damage than everybody else, and you're not going to have any advantages whatsoever relevant to everybody else to balance out that lost damage. And I don't really think that's a perfect solution. There are no perfect solutions in accessibility. I think accessibility should be a conversation. I'd like to see more companies hire professional consultants hire disabled people, hire playtesters, have a dedicated department that works on this during early development stages so that these things can be considered not just at the end of a game's development, but throughout the entire process. I'm hopeful that we are moving towards that in the industry, but that's really what I would like to see in the long term, is accessibility considered at every level of development. And as a closing thought, I think the main thing I want to emphasize about accessibility is that there are two different ways of looking at what accessibility is. One person looks at accessible controls as controls that are easier so that someone can start learning the game with them. But then, because they are very limited in what they can do on simple controls, they are motivated to learn the harder inputs. And since they already like the game, they graduate from simple controls to advanced controls and can then play the game on the fully intended control scheme. Versus, another person looks at accessible controls as a way to play the game permanently, so that even if you are physically incapable of playing the more advanced control scheme, you have access to as many tools as possible, and you can compete effectively on a playing field with people who do not have disabilities and play the standard controls. And when I talk about accessibility, I'm largely not looking at tutorialized accessibility. The kind of accessibility that just makes it easier for you to pick the game up and then funnels you towards more advanced controls. I want to see more control schemes where if you are there permanently, you still feel as much a participant in the game and in its potential competitive landscape as you would if you did not have any disabilities or neurodivergence to speak of. And so I'm going to move now to the Fatal Fury City of the Wolves beta and talk about ways in which it does or doesn't succeed at what I think should be any accessible fighting game's intended goal. Part 4. So they call it Smart Style. All right, I'm going to be diving into this with no having prior touched the game. I haven't touched the beta yet. I watched a couple friends play it, but none of them were playing on Smart Style, so I haven't really engaged with this much at all beyond seeing a couple of friends post on social media, and I really want to get my own first impressions. I'm going to be going into this beta on a standard PS5 controller because I think it's unlikely that someone who was previously unable to access fighting games would be playing on a specialized leverless controller like I do now. I know I started playing Street Fighter 6 on a standard PS5 controller, not a leverless controller, and I think if a game is only accessible on specialized equipment, then it could stand to be improved. So I want to see what the out-of-the-box experience for somebody who struggles with complex inputs is likely to be like if they just have a PS5 controller. It doesn't let me use my exclamation point. I'm gonna have to just be FemShep FGC. Select a server region. North America. I love this layout. It looks like a comic book. It is a little confusing to navigate though. Sheesh, like, wait, which of these are menu boxes? Okay, the ones that just have, it looks like each of these would be a menu box and it's just the 3. That's weird. Okay. Online. Profile.
Online profile.
I can pick a favorite character. Let's just go with Terry. This is god ugly, man. Any notable settings? You can change the volume of individual things. That's good if somebody really relies on audio cues. Screen shake reduction. I'm going to turn that on because I get motion sick pretty easily. How much can I adjust the heads-up display? I can literally only adjust the placement. I can't adjust what it looks like. High contrast. Okay, so I can make it like brighter, but I can't change the colors. Yeah, not really a lot going on in the way of accessibility here either. Motion blur. Let's leave that on for now. Button config. Arcade versus smart. Alright, well this is a good place to start. Arcade has 4-button game. Okay, instead of light, medium, heavy, punch, kick, we just have light and heavy, punch, kick. There's light plus heavy punch. There's light plus heavy kick. Simultaneous punch, kick. Simultaneous punch, kick. Rev guard. And that's all. Let's see the button preview there. Okay, so your 4 face buttons on the controller, the top 2. Okay, the left 2 are punch, the right 2 are kick. Right trigger, 2 punches, left trigger, 2 kicks. Right bumpers, rev. Left bumper is punch plus kick. Nothing on the control sticks being pressed down. I don't know if you can bind anything to that on a leverless or not. That seems like it's it. Okay. Then smart style. Just punch and kick. No separate light punch and heavy punch, light punch and heavy kick. There's a special move button. There's an auto combo button. Rev guard, rev blow, throw, and dodge attack, all bound to buttons. I'm gonna have to go through the tutorials to fully understand how that works. But let's see this. This is actually way more buttons to track with. Sheesh. Alright. So, punch. No? It's not punch? Punch, kick. Okay, so your left 2 now are punch and kick. What would be heavy punch is something else. What would be heavy kick is something else. R1 is still rev arts. R2, L2, L1. It would definitely be helpful if these were labeled in here with what they are, because at a glance, not knowing how this game works, yeah, it's impossible to remember what each one of these is for button check, like at all. Offline. No access to training or missions, just tutorial. Alright, let's go in.
Tutorial.
Arcade style is on by default, and you can switch it. Okay, I'm gonna start by going through the arcade style tutorial so that I know what the game offers in full and can be able to tell what is missing on smart style. Because in a vacuum, I can pretty much do input, so I should still be able to demonstrate everything here in a vacuum, I hope. Long time no see, Rock. Let's warm up before the real fighting begins.
Get ready. Fight.
Okay. This is tiny UI. My god. If you have any issue with, like, vision, this is going to be impossible to parse. Alright. Forward, backward, dash, backdash, crouch, jump. Why is it not counting that as dash being completed? I'm doing a dash.
Complete.
Oh, you have to hold it and you can, like, continue to run. Okay. There's a dash and there's a, like, sprint run. You've been working on your moves since I last saw you. Try sending an attack my way this time. Next exercise. Let's review the basics of attacking. Flashy specials are cool and all, but they ain't nothing without solid punches and kicks.
Get ready. Fight.
Using a normal attack against a faraway opponent sends the long-range version of the move at them. Think of it as stretching out as far as you can. So if I hit punch up close, I get this little elbow. If I hit punch far away, it's a longer punch. So there's a close and a far version of everything. Close, far. close, far. I like how this rewards having a strong understanding of spacing. Crouching close, crouching far, same. Crouching close, crouching far. Okay, so there is no really close and far on crouching moves. And then jumping moves. Looks like you're putting your all into this warm-up. Keep at it and you'll be in top shape in no time. It ain't always a case of all-out attack, mind you. Defense while waiting for the right moment to strike is also vital. Try to defend against me and I'll show you what I mean.
Get ready, fight!
So holding back blocks and holding down back blocks.
Complete!
I'm still stuck on how tiny these indicators are with no audio whatsoever to tell you what to do. So this is going to be totally inaccessible as a tutorial if you have vision problems. I realize that secondary in this video is focusing primarily on accessible controls because that's what I personally need, but I do feel like that's worth noting. Knowing which of these two guard types to use and when can be tricky. Just remember that crouching guards are the key to solid defense. Anyway, let's move on. Next up, how to hit an opponent who's blocking. Presumably, crouch guard beats lows and stand guard doesn't. It really seems like that should be indicated more clearly because if this is your first fighting game, you might not already know that. Some attacks are effective even against a blocking opponent.
Get ready, fight!
Try to punch me, I'll block you. The fact that it also only shows you, like, the icon for what button to hit and not what button it is on your controller makes this doubly difficult to parse. Like, if it said up there, like, in parentheses, that this is the triangle button that you need to hit to get this button, that would be so helpful. But it's only showing you the icon for what it is in-game. So if you're still trying to process that means heavy punch, which means triangle, it's going to take you even longer to get through this tutorial and absorb the information. Okay, make an opponent block by aiming for their feet. That's clearly supposed to indicate that crouch block is necessary to block crouch attacks, but it doesn't actually say that? Unless I missed something?
Get ready, fight!
If your opponent is using a standing guard, you can catch them wide open at their feet. Low attacks let you do this. Okay, it did say that. That's good. Make them block. To hit someone in a crouching guard position, you'll want to attack from above. That's where jumping attacks come in.
Complete!
To sum up, use low attacks against a standing guard and jumping attacks against a crouching guard. Okay, good. That's a good explanation. But what if your opponent knows guards like the back of their hand, has an answer for everything? In that case, a good old-fashioned throw is just the ticket you need. If an opponent is set on blocking, use a throw to shake things up. Throws work against standing and crouching guards.
Get ready, fight!
Make them block. Then throw is punch plus kick, but again, it's a case of trying to remember which is my punch plus kick button combo. What is my punch plus kick?
Whoops! Whoops!
There we go. This could really be indicated more clearly. I'm just going to keep saying that. If you can't find a crack in your opponent's guard, it's time to throw them, and remember they work on standing and crouching guards. I love that animation. Throwing your opponent behind you is a good way to swap positions. Throws are a solid option mid-fight whether your opponent is blocking or not. The only real downside is that they require you to get up close and personal, so make sure to time them right and not get hit in the process. Throws are a useful technique, but remember your opponent can do them too. I'll teach you what to do if that happens.
Get ready.
When your opponent tries to throw, input one of your own to shake it off. This is known as a throw tech.
Get off me!
When your opponent tries to throw, it's still going to make me do this again?
Get off me!
Okay, twice. You can also try attacking them before they grab hold of you. Or you can jump.
Oops!
Unless they have an air throw. Or you can backstab. I'm trying to input this as fast as I can. I'm just gonna mash it before even.
Complete.
I don't like the fact that these tutorials automatically start and restart and you don't get to hit when you're ready to try. It just loops infinitely. And like, especially if you're a slow reader, it's gonna keep flashing on and off because the timer's gonna run out, it's gonna do the thing, and then it's gonna start over. There's various ways to stop a throw mid-fight, so performing one can be tricky. Just remember, opponents who freeze up under pressure make for prime targets. Pile on the offense, then surprise them with a throw. Let's move on to combination attacks.
Get ready. Fight.
So this is like combos, basically. Which is my green kick button. There's no virtual controller here for me to even tell if I'm hitting the right button. Maybe it's that one? Yep. But the total lack of virtual controller makes this very unintuitive. I would imagine I would find this really overwhelming if I hadn't played a fighting game before. Next, special moves.
Get ready. Fight.
A standing attack means you left out down from the quarter circle forward. Is that what that is? That is so tiny. Oh, and it's going by really fast. I like the fact that they're trying to explain the timing on motion inputs, but this is going by way too fast, and I'm an extremely fast reader, but I'm trying to process all these unfamiliar symbols and remember what buttons they are. Alright, so it wants a quarter circle forward punch. Okay. I really can't do motion inputs without my leverless, dang. There we go.
Double Replicant! Double Replicant! 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 Rising Tackle!
Oh my god.
Replicant!
What does it want me to do here? How is Rising Tackle different? Oh, that's a DP input? That's how they're telling you to do a DP input, that like near unseeable arrow. I have a giant TV, y'all. I have a 46-inch TV, and I am right in front of it. That is incomprehensible if you don't know that a Rising Tackle is a DP input.
Replicant! 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 Replicant!
And this is where my issues with motion inputs really show themselves without a leverless controller.
Double Replicant! Double Replicant! Rising Tackle!
Child's play right. Next time we'll try using special moves in a combo. Not really. I would have quit right there if I hadn't played a fighting game before, because there was no way I would have been able to process that that was forward, down, forward input from that tiny arrow. There's no way. You can connect certain normal attacks to special moves the moment they land.
Get ready.
Use your special move when your punch hits.
Hadouken!
Rev arts are stronger than regular special moves. This is going to be like EX.
Get ready.
A regular Reppuken means you didn't press both punches together. Do your best to press both punches at the same time.
No escape!
So you get a light,
Hadouken!
a heavy,
Double Reppuken!
and an OD.
No escape! Counter!
I'm actually starting to get DPs now on a pad, which is kind of cool, because I 100% could not do that before. Now let's see what you're really made of. The power gauge will fill up gradually as you fight your opponent. Use one bar of the gauge and wreak havoc with an ignition gear. Alright, these are going to be super inputs.
Get ready. Fight.
Forward, quarter circle forward punch.
Raging Storm!
Not done yet.
Quarter circle forward kick. Or is that a double DP input? I can't tell. Shining Knuckle. I think that's quarter circle forward kick. But this is kick. They have a virtual controller demonstrating the correct motion, but not one showing what you're actually inputting, so you can't even see what you're doing wrong. I can't tell if this is an execution error or if I'm actually hitting the wrong button. There it is.
Close one.
Looking good. Ignition gears leave you wide open if they miss, but they're guaranteed to pack one hell of a punch when they connect. Use 2 bars of the power gauge to unleash a red line gear. These are even stronger than ignition gears, so just give me a sec.
Get ready. Fight.
It's over! This is me!
Oh, that's so cool.
Not done yet.
I meant to do Raging Storm, but sure, Shining Knuckle. Oop.
What? Raging
I love these graphics, man. Way to go, Rock. The sheer force of these moves can turn the tide of battle, so they're great to have in your arsenal. You can set SPG to activate when your health gauge is full or fairly full, almost empty, or somewhere in the middle. With active SPG, your health slowly recovers and your attack strength increases. Plus, you get to use awesome moves like Rev Blows and Hitting Gears. Hitting Gears being basically level 3 from what I've seen. Here, let me show you.
Get ready.
I'll send an attack your way so you can enter SPG status.
PG complete.
There's more to SPG than the benefits I mentioned earlier. While it's active, you'll also have access to a formidable Hitting Gear. Hitting Gears are the most powerful type of special move. You'll need to have 2 power gauge bars and be in SPG status to perform them, but don't just take my word for it, see for yourself.
Get ready. Fight. SPG.
What is my rev button again?
This is for you, Terry!
Ooh, saucy.
Complete. Not done yet.
Woo, guess that's about it for offensive techniques. Dodge attacks are exactly as their name implies. They let you dodge while performing an attack of your own. There's 2 different types.
Get ready. Fight.
High dodge attacks let you attack while avoiding hits aimed at your upper body. They're useful against jumping attacks, for example. So crouch, punch plus rev.
See! Over here. Over here.
Complete.
There's a bit of a learning curve in knowing when to use these. Still, they're worth a shot when you think you read your opponent's next move. So it's Rev plus attack button. Okay. Next up are the conditions for winning. What, sounds too much like book learning to you? Well, I'm no fan of studying either, but this stuff's worth knowing.
Get ready. Fight.
Use what you've learned so far to try to knock me out. The most basic way to win is by reducing your opponent's health to 0. If you have to interrupt your tutorial by saying, I know this is a drag, but hang in there, I feel like you could be doing way more to make your tutorial engaging. Just gonna say that. Okay. Reduce CPU health to 0. Special moves and ignition gears deal little damage even when your opponent is blocking. If they're really low on health, try nabbing them by forcing them to block a super. Oh, now it's going to take him out even when I hit the wrong button. That's great. What is the input here?
Take this.
I gotta do it twice? This is what all my fighting game experience looked like before modern controls. For the record, I tried Injustice 2 multiple times over for like 2 weeks before I quit, and I would sit in training mode and try to do this shit, and I couldn't.
Take this.
4.
Win by decision if your time runs out. Okay, that is like way too fast that you have to read that.
Complete.
I would not have finished reading that if I didn't already know what it basically said. Phew, going over the basic stuff is a real snooze fest, but good news, we're done. If you want to make this less of a quote-unquote snooze fest, you could have clips available of like pseudo real matches that are hype, maybe with commentary, even if it's simulated commentary, just going like, oh my god, the timer's gonna run out and he wins by timeout. Like, make it exciting, put it into context. Rev blows are powerful strikes that also let you block incoming attacks. These fill your rev meter with each use.
Get ready. Fight. SPG.
Punch plus kick. In time with your opponent's attack.
SPG. SPG.
Oh my god. Okay. Punch, 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 kick, punch, kick.
Complete. Close one.
How about that? Rev blows pack a real punch. Using too much, you'll overheat. The Rev Excel technique lets you chain multiple Rev arts.
Get ready. Fight.
Quarter circle back, 2 punches. Quarter circle forward, 2 punches. Oh my god.
Complete.
Okay. So what do you think? Pretty neat, huh? And hey, no need to stop there. Try to experiment with different Rev arts and see which ones mesh well. Except it doesn't let you experiment. I guess they want you to go to training mode, but there's no training mode unless you crack this. Although Rev Guard fills your rev meter, it also comes with a host of benefits. I'll explain with a practical lesson.
Get ready.
First, try to block my attack with a Rev Guard.
1.
Now use a normal guard to block instead.
Complete.
See how I was farther away from you? That goes so fast. This is so hard to read in time. Rev Guard is a handy way to protect yourself against an offensive onslaught, knowing how to take punches as good as you can give them. That's what it means to be a world-class fighter. When timed perfectly, you'll be able to fend off attacks with just defense. You'll be a truly formidable fighter if you can learn to time your defense exactly to your opponent's strike.
Get ready.
Try to perform a just defense against my attack. So you have to block in perfect timing. It would also be helpful if they showed you the CPU doing it with the CPU's inputs on so that you could have like an example. When an opponent's hit lands, punch plus kick. So it's like an attack out of perfect parry. When an opponent's hit lands, hit forward. Okay. I have both hands on the D-pad right now. Come on. Oh my god. Block the first hit, then do a forward input. It doesn't have to be perfect defense. In time with the second hit or later. Okay, I think I got it. No. I'm hitting back and then hitting forward. I really wish I could see my inputs. I think I'm hitting it too early. I'm getting the just defend. I'm doing the forward input, I swear to God. I really don't get what I'm supposed to be doing here, and there's no demonstration. Alright, I'm gonna skip unique defensive mechanics because I really don't understand why that input isn't coming out, and the UI does not show me what I'm doing wrong. You're doing good so far, Rock, but remember everything in moderation. Do too many Rev Arts, Rev Blows, and Rev Guards, even normal guards, and you'll overheat. When overheated, you lose access to Rev Meter action, so it's like burnout.
Get ready.
Go on, see for yourself. Throw out a Rev Art and enter overheat status. Overheat status prevents you from using Rev Meter actions, just defense, and even hyper defense. But that's not... But that's not all the bad news, there's also the risk of guard crushes. Recover your Rev Meter faster by moving forward or blocking attacks. This also helps when you're overheating. Don't panic if you enter overheat, just wait for it to recover. Not the most exciting advice, but keeping a cool head will help you win the fight. Why does it keep apologizing for how the game works? Like, I'm sorry this is boring, or I'm sorry this is unengaging. Like, have a little confidence. The game is so pretty visually, like it has so much personality, and then the tutorial's like apologizing that it exists. I think it's time we covered hops and dash jumps.
Get ready.
Tap the jump button to hop a short distance close to the ground. Why hop? It's quicker than a normal jump. You can also press rev guard with the jump button to hop. So it's a double up? Dash jump. Dash then jump. Forward, forward, and then is it like a quarter circle? Okay, it's dash into jump. Like really fast. Ow, this hurts my hands. God.
Complete.
I did that with just both hands on the D-pad. Okay. Master these aerial moves and you'll become a more versatile fighter in no time. Remember, some fighters can't dash jump at all. Sometimes it's hard to time your next move after landing a jump or getting back up. Let's go over inputs for these situations. I remember seeing on Twitter there's actually multiple ways to get off the ground in this game, and the tutorial doesn't include it, which is really odd.
Get ready. Fight.
After you've been knocked down, input the motion for rising tackle and hold the punch button just before you wake up. I'm still reading! I mean, doing it, I swear to God. They want you to do motion inputs while you're on the ground and then hold the button. I'm inputting the, and I can't see my inputs. Alright, I don't want to just sit here frustrated. I at least want to skip past things that are not working. Expert, feinting and breaking. Okay, this is the last one, and then I can see how the other control scheme compares. Because this is definitely not playable for me on, like, arcade style. This is incredibly frustrating and unintuitive for my hands and my brain. There's no way. If this were the only control scheme, I wouldn't be able to play this game. Guess now would be a good time to go over feinting and breaking. These let you stop certain special moves mid-attack. Is it feint or feint? Maybe it's feint? I think it's feint. I'm 99% sure it's feint. Ignore me if I'm saying it wrong.
Get ready. Fight.
First, feinting. Ever throw out a Repu Ken only for your opponent to jump clean over it. By feinting one instead, you can catch them off guard and punish them on the way down. Okay, so it's rev plus kick. Break or rising tackle. Press punch and kick at the same time once the first hit connects. The rev guard button works too, but either way it's got to be on the first hit.
Complete.
So you add an extra button to your motion input to break it and cut it short, presumably so you can continue a combo. Yeah, some combos rely on breaking to tie things together, but that'll have to be Crash Course for another day. Go get them. Okay. Now, how does this look on Smart Style? We've established there's no way I would be able to play this on arcade. What's the alternative? Long time no see.
Get ready. Fight.
Movement's the exact same. I really wish it were clear that you had to hold this forward to get the dash.
Complete.
You've been working on your moves. I don't need to read this all again.
Get ready. Fight.
The punch and kick buttons result in light attacks most of the time. These quick strikes are perfect for when your opponent gets in your face. Okay, so this is punch, this is kick. Heavy attack is forward. Crouching attack is crouch. Jumping attack.
Complete. Get ready. Fight.
Wait a minute. I want to go back. I just realized something. Do you get the stretch version of your moves on this control scheme?
Get ready. Fight.
No! That entire stretch out and get different moves mechanic is just gone. That doesn't seem like that should be the case in any way. Frankly, I don't see why you couldn't just still have 2 punches and 2 kicks. I guess maybe I'll understand why when I see what those buttons are replaced with. But the fact that you can't do the stretch version of your normals right out the gate feels significant.
Get ready. Fight.
Alright, standing guard. Crouching guard.
Complete. Get ready. Fight. Complete. Get ready. Fight.
Throw is its own button. Okay. Where's the throw button? Okay. L2, yeah, L1 is throw. Versus what was throw on arcade style?
Complete. Get ready. Fight.
There are also so many fades to black here, and it's so distracting. Okay, normally it's punch. No, this is just jumping attacks.
Complete. Get ready. Fight.
Okay, so throw is normally punch plus kick, as opposed to a dedicated button.
Whoops. Whoops.
But wait,
Whoops. Whoops.
the dedicated button exists on Classic too? Okay, so it's basically the same. Except that you can't do punch plus kick on the other control scheme, I don't think.
Get ready. Fight.
Buken.
Yeah, if I want to do
Buken.
punch plus kick to throw. Okay, this works the exact same way. It just doesn't tell you that you can do it with punch plus kick. Why doesn't it just tell you you could do it either way? That's really dumb. Because both control schemes have two ways that you can throw. You could use the dedicated button, or you can use two buttons. But it only tells you about one or the other.
Get ready. Fight.
Get off me!
Oops, I'm hitting the wrong button because I'm used to that being punched on the other control scheme. Hang on. Oh, they want me to throw tech again.
Get off me! Sit here! Oops!
Complete.
Special moves. Alright, here's what we really want.
Sit!
Neutral special. Forward special. So, no light or heavy select version between the strength of the special move. Wait, it was always the same on the other. There was no light or heavy. You know, yeah, there was, because I did normal fireball, I did stronger fireball, and I did strongest fireball. Do you only get one of the three strengths on Smart Style?
Get ready. Fight.
Double Rebuken! No escape!
Yeah, you're supposed to have three versions of this, and you only have one. That is an enormous loss for moveset. And if that's not the case, it's explained poorly. Wait, no, I want to go to the next one. I'll just do it again.
Get ready. Fight.
Using tackle! Using tackle!
Get ready. Fight.
Rebuken!
You can cancel a normal attack with the Smart Combo button. What's the Smart Combo button? Circle. Okay. It didn't even tell me what Smart Combos are. Yeah. This is all over the place. What's a Smart Combo? Or we're jumping straight to Rev Arts. Sure. Oh, so there is a way to do the OD version. Okay, so it's just that you only get light or heavy on the special, but you can do OD. That's a little better, but it's still a significant loss.
Get ready.
Supers! Alright, the Smart Combo button and the special button. Or the motion input.
Raging Storm!
The cool thing is that there's no mention of damage scaling here for doing the simplified super input. So that's nice.
Take this!
Close one.
I still want to know what a Smart Combo is.
Get ready. Fight.
If you have 2 full power gauge bars, you'll automatically perform a red line gear instead of the less powerful ignition gear. So I can't save my gauge?
Raging storm!
Not done yet.
Yeah, I can't just do functionally like 2 level 1s instead of a level 2. I'm always gonna do the level 2.
It's over. This is me.
Close one.
I don't like that at all. Ready to learn about smart combos. I've been ready.
Get ready.
Hit the combo button repeatedly to perform a smart combo.
Close one.
Personalized smart combo.
Hey, Jace. Look out.
Raging storm!
Oh, I did it too slow.
Raging storm!
That is what I'm trying to do, right?
Raging storm!
Yeah.
Raging storm!
Hey,
Raging storm!
cool down. Look out.
Get lost!
Oh my god.
Raging storm!
I did something, but it's not what I'm supposed to be doing.
Raging storm!
This should not be hard.
Raging storm! Raging storm!
Alright, I'm gonna try one more time. 1, 2, 3, backless buttons. And I can't see my input, so I can't tell what I'm doing wrong. That is incredibly frustrating. I also do not see the purpose of this smart combo thing at all. Like, it's not giving me access to a button I don't normally have. Because I can already do this button. So the smart combo is just giving me an auto combo. But that auto combo doesn't give me access to anything I wouldn't have otherwise. So it seems like a completely wasted button. Like, this might be helpful when I was playing the game on day 1 and I didn't know how to do any combos because I could just spam this when I see an opening. But beyond day 1, this is a completely wasted button. Because it's not giving me access to anything I don't have. I can do this with just forward plus punch. I don't have to do it with the other button. I hate this. I'm not gonna lie, I really hate that. Like, a lot. I think that's a significant misunderstanding of what an accessibility option actually is.
Get ready. Fight. PG complete. Get ready. Fight. SP.
So these still require double motion inputs for your ultimate super. These are the inputs I have continued to have the most trouble with, even after like 2 years of spending like practically all my free time in Street Fighter 6. If you're gonna have an accessible control scheme, why would you gatekeep the strongest possible move behind still being able to do the standard control scheme's most complex input, practically? The only thing that would make this harder is if there were a DP in here somewhere, but double quarter circles are still hard. I know I talked to at least one person on Twitter who said double motion inputs cause him significant hand pain that even double taps don't. If this were even double tap into button to get the super, or down into your 2-button input of special plus smart combo to get your ultimate super, like it is down special plus heavy in Street Fighter, that would make sense. But gatekeeping this behind a motion input is, I think, the biggest misstep so far, besides the fact that the smart combo button exists. Because if I struggle with this input, like, what am I supposed to do about it? Okay, there's Rev. Hang on.
Close one. Not done yet. Close one. Not done yet. Close one. Dirt heat.
And now I'm stuck in overheat. And it's not even gonna let me do it until I on-overheat. And go through another loading screen.
Get ready. Fight SPG.
Double motion, rev.
Not done
Why
yet.
is that not giving me power geyser? Is it a DP? I can't see what those tiny arrows are telling me to do. I'm squinting at my television.
Not done yet.
Unless rev is a different button that I'm not thinking it is.
If you can. If you can. Whoops. Over here. Start.
Alright, I don't know why this isn't working, but I'm gonna go to the next exercise. My point about the input being needlessly complicated for an accessible control scheme stands.
Get ready.
Dodge attacks are down plus dodge button instead of down plus punch.
See.
Where's my dodge button?
Whoops.
Oh my god, the fact that it doesn't tell you what button is which in this layout is so needlessly confusing.
Whoops.
There it is. It's left trigger. Okay.
Over here. Over here.
Please.
I want to go over what that was in the other control scheme real quick, where it didn't have a dedicated dodge button. Okay, new recording, but we ball.
Get ready. Fight.
So it's punch plus rev on standard controls. There's no reason it couldn't be punch plus rev on simple controls. Both those buttons still exist on simple controls. You still have a punch button, you still have a rev button. You just don't have separate punch buttons. So I don't even understand why this is different in Smart Style. Win conditions is going to be the same, isn't it? It's just going to tell me about chipping them out or taking their health. Yeah, this is going to be exactly the same. I can skip this.
Get ready. Fight. Get ready. Fight SPG.
There's a rev blow button. Okay, so I was hitting rev blow earlier instead of rev, is what happened?
SPG. 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 SPG.
You can add a rev blow on the end of your combination attacks. They totally skipped the combination attack tutorial that existed on the other controls, because all your combinations are just punch, 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 punch now, because you can't go between light punch and heavy punch.
If you can.
Please. Close one.
It auto does a rev blow at the end? So it's like another auto combo?
Get ready. Fight. Look out.
If you can.
Get ready. Fight.
Alright, now I can figure out where my rev guard button is. I think it's R1? Yep.
Get ready. Fight. Ah! SPT. Not done yet.
That wasn't it? There it is.
One.
This is the exact same thing I couldn't do on the other control scheme. And I can't see my inputs, so I can't tell what I'm doing wrong.
One.
Because I am hitting forward after hitting back. You can't even see that I'm hitting forward after hitting back because you can't see my inputs. Overheat status, hopping. Okay.
Get ready. Fight.
If you can. Whoops. If you can. See.
What is my red button again?
Over here.
Rev is R1. Okay. And that's exactly the same. Okay.
Get ready. Fight.
Tackle.
Okay. That's it. If you look at just the number of tutorials by comparison, this is arcade style, this is smart style, same number for beginner. But then you go to basic, and arcade style explains combination attacks, access to being able to manually select your supers at all times instead of automatically getting the strongest possible one and spending all your resources. Dodge doesn't have its own dedicated button. Why is this so... And then we have this smart combo section added that doesn't add anything to the accessibility at all. It's just an auto combo for the sake of having an auto combo. Because I guess auto combos in principle feel accessible, but they're really not. Being able to do one combo by mashing doesn't make the game any more playable by somebody who struggles with inputs. Because it's not giving them access to more tools than they would have without it. It's just there. And you're losing one strength of your rev arts at all times. Much like how I said I didn't like the fact that Modern only gives you one strength of your special moves on simple inputs, and that they should do it like Grand Blue, where you could hit a strength alongside the input. Because if you go into rev arts here,
Get ready. Fight.
like, why can't I hit punch plus kick plus super to get, because normally, let's see, I get the light version, I get the OD version, but I don't get a heavy version. Why can't I hit punch and kick together with the special move to get a heavy version? It's still just going to give me OD. There's no reason I shouldn't have access to all three strengths of this move. It already makes sense in the existing control scheme. And it's not even like that. Well, hang on. Can I still input it with classic inputs in their modern scheme? Like, if I do a quarter circle forward here, can I still do a quarter circle forward? Yeah, I can, because that's a quarter circle. But there's no way to manually input the heavy version of this, because I don't have a heavy punch button, and it doesn't work with kick. So I'm losing it regardless. At least on Street Fighter 6's modern controls, if I want to have all strengths of my special move, I can input them manually. I just straight up lose them on this control scheme. And on arcade style for Ignition Gears,
Get ready, fight!
yeah, I always have with punch or kick different supers.
Not done yet.
Take this.
Close one.
And then the red line gear
Get ready, fight!
is with the heavy version.
Using tackle. Double Rakuken. Using tackle. Using tackle. Using tackle. Raging storm. Take this.
Close one.
Take this.
Not done yet.
Double Rakuken. Double Rakuken.
Raging storm! Close one.
Jeez.
Take this.
Not done yet.
Oh, it's just gotta be kick. Alright, I'm not gonna continue to fight with the inputs. Point being, automatically accessing your stronger special move that spends more meter on simple controls instead of being able to select if you want to spend that much meter or not, I don't like at all. Dodge on arcade style.
Get ready, fight!
Or punch plus rev. Yeah, so there was no reason for a separate dodge button. Look at how much you lose on Smart. Okay. Like on... You don't have access to multiple combination attacks, so you're losing... You're not just losing normals, you're losing, like, whole combo routes. And breaking and fainting. I don't know where that was in here. This isn't labeled super clearly, but breaking and fainting both aren't mentioned at all in Smart Style. And not being able to break to do a different combo route feels like if you couldn't drive rush cancel in Street Fighter. Like, my overall impression of this is that the intent is for someone who has not played fighting games before to start with Smart Style so they don't get frustrated. But then when they get frustrated that they don't have access to all of the game's mechanics, they graduate to arcade style. It does not feel like it would be at all long-term competitively viable to be a Smart Style player in this game. You're losing access to normals, to stretching versions of those normals, to breaking, to fainting, to the ability to select which type of super you want to use instead of spending all your resources. and to 1 strength of your special moves, whether it's light or heavy. That's a lot of losses. That's like half the game's mechanics that become inaccessible to you.
Button config.
Because if you look at arcade style versus smart style, you add this smart combo button that doesn't add anything your character wouldn't have access to otherwise. And you add a dedicated throw button that doesn't need to be there because you could already do it with 2 buttons at the same time. There's no way to bind macros either. It seems like if you want the game to be more accessible, you would want to have an option for if I wanted to bind, for instance, punch plus special move to an unused button on my controller, I could do that, but I can't because this smart combo button has to take up a whole slot. How are they doing rev blows on arcade versus smart? Why does smart have a rev blow button? I'm trying to remember now.
Tutorial. Get ready. Fight.
Okay, it's 2 punches to do a rev blow.
No escape.
Oh, wait, no, that's not rev blow. These are just OD moves. Hang on. Where are my rev blows?
Get ready. Fight.
And you can. Rising tackle. Raging storm.
Close one.
Even just the way these tutorials are labeled makes it difficult to go back to how to do something specific that I can't remember because things aren't labeled clearly. Like, where are rev blows? Okay, there they are. That's actually on me. I'm just getting frustrated.
Get ready. Fight.
Okay, so they're normally punch plus kick. Punch plus kick still exists on Smart Style. Why is there a dedicated rev blow button? They chose that it was more valuable to have dedicated buttons for macros on Smart Style, rev blow being its own button instead of punch plus kick, as opposed to dedicating that button to a mechanic that is just completely missing, like feints or like braking. Dodge attack likewise. One of these could be a feint button, one of these could be a brake button, because you can still input these inputs with the existing buttons that are still there, and you would get rid of smart combo because it doesn't have to be there, and that button could be dedicated to one of the missing mechanics. As it stands, you're losing access to so much. I don't even see why Smart Style couldn't still be a 4-button game. Light punch or heavy punch, light kick or heavy kick. Because the accessibility issue isn't, I can't remember all of these buttons. And clearly they aren't worried about whether or not you can remember a lot of buttons because there are even more types of buttons in Smart Style than there are in Classic. Most things are just button combinations in Classic. The issue isn't that they don't think you can remember a lot of buttons, so I don't understand why it isn't still a 4-button game. It wouldn't make the game any less accessible for me to have a heavy punch, light punch, heavy kick, or heavy kick, light kick. I don't really understand what this was supposed to accomplish, because it's not allowing you to use the game's mechanics with simpler inputs. It's just deleting mechanics, assuming that you won't be able to do them, or that you won't notice they're gone, or that you don't need them. The only thing that really feels easier to do in Smart Style versus Arcade Style is special moves. And even then, you don't have access to all of your special moves. All told, I don't foresee myself getting invested in this game unless they change this pretty significantly. I am really happy that they're asking people for input on this. I'm really honored that they asked me for input on this. And the game seems like it would be really fun if I could access everything that it has to offer. But as it stands now, it really feels like Smart Style is training wheels, and that they don't anticipate anybody wanting to ride a tricycle at the actual race. It does not feel like it's meant to be viable competitively, and it feels a little condescending that they just delete whole mechanics and instead dedicate buttons to macros, as though hitting 2 buttons at the same time is the primary accessibility issue, and not complex motions like a double quarter circle forward that is still required to access your strongest super. It feels like they tried to remove things that could be difficult to understand instead of things that could be difficult to execute. Like, instead of expecting you to manage your own meter with gears, they went, oh, it's just always going to spend both bars of your meter, so you don't have to think about it. That's not accessibility. That's just starting to kind of autoplay the game for me. I would like them to, bare minimum, add feints and braking to Smart Style. If they... I don't really see any reason for Smart Combo to be there. I don't think anybody would miss it. And I don't necessarily think you need these dedicated dodge attack button and rev blow button either. I think the primary focus should be putting braking and feints back into the game and making sure you have access to all strengths of your special moves. Because right now it really just feels like diet arcade style. I'm repeating myself, but it doesn't feel competitively viable, and it feels like it thinks that you are not smart enough to track with multiple mechanics, when it is not an intelligence issue for me in my ability to play fighting games. I am not too unintelligent to play a more advanced control scheme. I have a physical barrier to being able to do more complex fine motor inputs reliably. And instead of removing the complex fine motor inputs, Smart Style removes options entirely. And I really don't like that. I would feel shackled trying to play Smart Style against an arcade style player in a tournament setting, or even competitively online. I wish I could mess with what specific characters lose in a training mode, but we don't have access to training mode right now. As it stands, even without having touched specific characters in a dedicated training mode, unless there are pretty dramatic differences here, I don't think I'd want to play it, honestly. I can't foresee myself putting time into something that doesn't want me to access whole mechanics of the game. I think it would have been really beneficial to the developers to have asked for this feedback earlier in the development process, instead of during a beta test extremely close to the release of the game. I think it's awesome that they want to apply the feedback they're receiving now after the game's release, but a lot of people are only going to remember what the game is like at release. Like, I didn't even play fighting games until Street Fighter 6, and I knew Street Fighter 5 was quote-unquote a bad game because I heard so many negative things secondhand just on the grapevine when Street Fighter 5 came out, despite the fact that apparently it got pretty good later and a lot of people miss that game now, because release is what most people's impression is going to be of your game. If your game is inaccessible at release, or if its accessibility options feel half-baked at release, disabled and neurodivergent people aren't going to keep checking the news to see if you fix it. They're just going to assume they can't play your game. And I think that's sad, because there are people who may have access to this game later that aren't still following it and won't know when it's changed. I wish feedback had been implemented sooner. I wish it had been asked for sooner. I wish companies in general, not just SNK, were hiring dedicated consultants and hiring disabled and neurodivergent people throughout in-house testing process before there's a beta to get their feedback and their input, because they're experts on this. I'm just one girl with an opinion, okay? I'm one girl who's been playing fighting games for a few years now and really loves them and wants to be able to play more of them. But I'm not an expert. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an organization, and that all exists for accessibility. There are much broader resources for accessibility than just me. So, in summary, it feels half-baked. It doesn't feel competitively viable. I wish they had asked for feedback sooner, but I hope they are sincere in applying the feedback they're receiving now, that there is an improved version of this game later, and that the word gets out when the game is improved so that people who wanted to play it and felt like it wasn't competitively viable for them can still access the game later. And last thing I will say about this, but I swear to God,
Tutorial.
Get ready.
this text is so small, it does not tell me which button equals what button on my controller, and the motion inputs are so tiny, it is near impossible to tell what motion input it is unless you already have a sense of what motion inputs are in these games and what a DP is. So even just visually on arcade style, the tutorial feels inaccessible. It just feels like it wasn't tested. It feels like, kind of like when you read your own work and you don't realize there's a typo because you keep reading the word as what you meant it to be until you hand it to someone else who says, hey, that says angle, not angel. And you're like, oh my God, how did I not see that? It just feels like they didn't ask for outside feedback, like until the beta. Like they didn't bring anybody in-house that wasn't already in-house. And that was a real lost opportunity. I wish I could be more positive here. I really wanted to be like, SNK, you're making strides in accessibility and I'm so happy. I hope I can be positive later. I'm still really honored that my feedback was asked for. I hope this is helpful to anyone who wanted to know from a disabled player, neurodivergent player's perspective, how Smart Style currently is, and not just like theoretically from someone who doesn't have any challenges. And I think that's all I've got for now. I really hope I have happier news later, because this game is beautiful. And the full mechanics seem really complex and interesting and freeform, and I just want to be able to access them like everybody else.